The Witching Hour.
I live in a townhouse with my friend Nick. We've been roommates for about 2 years. He's a night owl. I'm more of a morning person, so we cross paths at weird times, but we're both used to that. Last month, I got home late from work, around midnight. Nick's car wasn't in the driveway, so I assumed he was out or staying over at his girlfriend's. I went inside, locked up, and threw on some TV before bed. About 20 minutes later, I heard a knock at the door. 3 quick taps. I looked out the peephole. It was Nick, hoodie up, standing still. I opened the door and jokingly said, "You forget your keys again?" But there was no one there, just silence in the empty porch. I stood there for a second, confused, then locked the door, double-checked the windows, and told myself I was just tired. Maybe I imagined it. I went back to the couch. About 15 minutes later, another knock. This time, 2 slow knocks. I didn't move, just sat there frozen. Then from the other side of the door I heard Nick's voice. "Hey man, you in there? Let me in." But it was flat, off, like someone doing an impression of his voice after only hearing it a few times. And it kept talking, like a broken record. "Hey man, you in there? Let me in. Hey man, you in there? Let me in. Hey man, you in there? Let me in." I texted Nick immediately, "Where are you?" He replied almost instantly, "Still at Cassie's, why?" I don't know what was at the door, but it knew my friend's face, and it was getting better at his voice.
I worked the front desk at a small hospital in Illinois. Night shifts were usually quiet, especially on Tuesdays. It was just after 2 a.m. when the main door slid open. A man stepped through. He was tall, mid-30s, dressed in a crisp army uniform. He looked urgent. His face was pale and drawn. His hair was neatly combed but damp with sweat, like he'd been running. He walked straight up to the desk, barely catching his breath.
Room 412. I need to see my wife. She shouldn't be alone.
Visiting hours had ended at 9. It was hospital policy. But before I could finish, he cut in again, his voice softer this time, almost pleading.
Please. She shouldn't be alone tonight.
There was something in his tone that stopped me. He looked devastated. I told him to hold on a moment and pulled up the chart for room 412, hoping maybe, there had been some exception. Maybe she'd been flagged for overnight visitors. But there it was. A single note, time-stamped just after 7:48 p.m. Patient deceased. My chest tightened. I looked up from the screen. But the man was gone. No footsteps, no doors opening, just gone. Something about that absence felt heavier than if he'd still been standing there. I picked up the phone and called upstairs, just to be sure. I explained the situation and asked if he had been there. The nurse on the 4th floor went quiet. Then finally she said, "The woman in 412 was a widow." I stared at my monitor for a long time after that, then slowly hung up the phone. Maybe I'd misheard him. Maybe I'd read the chart wrong. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling in my gut. Later that night, once the lobby was empty again and everything was still, I broke the rules and looked the patient up on Facebook. I just needed to know. Her name was Edith. Scrolling through her profile, it was clear she was older, a grandmother, active in her church. There was no way she was married to the young man from that night. Relief settled over me. Maybe it had just been a confused visitor. Then I saw it, her last post. "I miss you, my soldier. Happy anniversary." Attached was a photo, faded but clear enough. A young Edith smiling on her wedding day. Beside her stood the same man I'd seen at the front desk. Same face, same uniform. I never told anyone, but I still think about him. How real he seemed. How sure he was that she shouldn't be alone that night. And maybe she wasn't.
The pediatric ward is usually quiet overnight, but the layout is strange. Long, narrow halls and those cartoon murals that feel cheerful during the day and sinister at 3 a.m. One night, we had no admitted kids in the East Wing. All the rooms were empty. I was walking the hallway to double-check the crash cart when I heard singing. A little girl's voice. I froze. I knew that voice. Years ago, we had a long-term palliative care patient. A little girl with leukemia who loved music. She used to hum the same tune constantly, even when she was too weak to speak. A nursery rhyme, the kind that loops endlessly in your head. She passed away in that same wing. I checked every single room. All of them were empty. No music, no TVs, nothing. Just that cold, echoey hallway. When I got back to the nurses' station, one of the older nurses, Someone who'd been there when that little girl was alive looked up at me and said, "You heard her too, didn't you?" We never spoke of it again. But sometimes when I'm alone back there, I still hear that same little melody.
This happened last year. My sister and I share a 2-bedroom apartment in the city. One night, I was in the kitchen making dinner when I heard the front door open. Her keys jingled, just like they always do when she gets home. I glanced over and saw her walk in. She was wearing a hoodie with the hood up, and without saying a word, she went straight to her bedroom. That was strange. Usually she announces her arrival. Whatever, I thought. Maybe she had a bad day. A couple of minutes later, I heard her call out from her room. "Rachel, help." Her voice was calm, not urgent. I assumed she needed help finding something. I turned the stove to low and started walking toward her door. Halfway down the hall, I heard it again. "Rachel, help." Same calm tone. But something about it sounded off. Like it was her voice, but not quite right. When I reached her door, it was locked. I knocked. Nothing. I knocked again. Still silent. I was starting to get worried when suddenly, the front door opened. I heard my sister walk in, tossing her bag on the couch like normal. "Hey, I'm home." I froze. The air went completely still. I called 911, thinking maybe someone had broken in and was hiding in her room. The cops showed up. They searched the entire apartment. Nothing was missing. Nothing looked disturbed. Except the window in her room was open. Wide open. They figured someone had come in and slipped out the window when they realized the apartment wasn't empty. But I swear, I heard her keys. I saw her walk in. I heard her voice, and it sounded exactly like her.
It was a Wednesday night when it happened, just after 11 p.m. I was home alone. My mom had gone out of town for work, like she did once a month. It was just a quick overnight trip, and I wasn't worried. I was 17, old enough to stay home, make ramen, and binge old horror movies with the lights off. Around midnight, I paused the movie to get a snack. The house was completely silent. I was about to open the fridge when I heard the front door open. The sound was so normal that I didn't even react. I just assumed Mom had come home early. I walked out of the kitchen, halfway to the stairs, when I heard her voice.
"Jason, I'm home. Could you come here, please?"
Something about it was off. She always came in with a bunch of noise, kicking off her shoes, talking to herself, fumbling through her bag. This time, just silence after that one sentence. I peeked down the hall, expecting to see her setting her purse on the counter. But the entryway was dark. "Mom?" I called out. Then from the top of the stairs, I heard it again.
"Sweetie, I need help, please."
It was my mom's voice, but it wasn't right. I didn't move. The voice called again, more insistent this time.
"I need help. Please. I need help."
I texted her, "Are you home?" She replied instantly, "No, just got to the hotel." "Why?" I stared at the text. I was frozen halfway down the hall, phone in hand, when I heard the floorboards creak upstairs. I backed up. Quiet, careful. I didn't want whatever was up there to know I was there. I locked myself in the downstairs bathroom, knife from the kitchen in one hand, phone in the other. This time I called 911. I spoke to the operator and the wait felt eternal. Finally I heard sirens in the distance. I let them in and explained everything, trying not to sound insane. They searched the house top to bottom, inside and out. Nothing. No footprints. No signs of forced entry. No muddy prints on the stairs, even though I know I saw one earlier. They even checked the attic. It was empty. They told me I'd probably imagined the voice. Maybe a dream. Maybe stress. But I know what I heard. And I know it wanted me to come to it.
I'd been living alone in my little rental house for months when the strange things started. At first, it was subtle. The cold spots that would freeze me in place when I walked down the hall at night. The soft footsteps above my bedroom ceiling, even though the attic hatch was nailed shut. Doors creaking open on their own. Lights flickering when no one was around. I told myself it was just the house settling, or maybe my imagination. But the feeling of being watched was impossible to ignore. One night, as I lay in bed, I heard whispering coming from above. faint, urgent voices, like they were trying to tell me something. I tried to listen, but they faded into silence. I started leaving candles lit, saying little prayers before I went to sleep. I even tried recording the noises on my phone. Sometimes I caught strange tapping sounds, or what sounded like someone breathing softly. My friends joked that I had a ghost roommate. I half believed it myself. The house felt haunted, and maybe I was too tired or lonely to care. Then the break-in happened. I came home late one evening, and the front door was open. My heart dropped. Inside, the house was a mess. Drawers pulled out, cushions ripped, things I loved stolen. I called the police, trembling. When they arrived, they did a careful sweep of the house. Someone's been living in your attic without your knowledge. They pried open the hatch and found it. A makeshift bed, food wrappers, empty water bottles, a small stash of my missing belongings. They said the squatters had been sneaking down at night, moving through the house without me knowing, hiding above while I thought the strange noises were just ghosts. I packed my things and moved out the next day. I wasn't alone. And it wasn't a ghost, but a kind of wish it had been.